Good morning, morning. Hi, everybody. This is Sani Yusuf here, and this is gonna be my first attempt to actually make a video. I think it's probably gonna be up on YouTube and all the channels that I have stuff, and so it's very unstructured, and that's kind of how I like it. I'm a very freestyle person, so just leaving my Airbnb because I'm headed to the Components Conference, which is a tech conference that's being held here in Melbourne, Australia. And so the reason why I'm making this video is because yesterday I made a short video on Twitter about how, if people would want to know how I get to travel around the world and get to go to conferences and yeah, just how I get to do all of that, because I always sort of like talk about how I do things like that, and it's a question I get all the time, like how do you get to do this? By the way, this is a beautiful place. That's the building I'm staying at, and I'm headed to the Marvel Stadium, which is like a 5-10 minute walk, but I'm probably gonna get a little bit of breakfast on the way. So I'm gonna make sure this video is probably like maybe 10-15 minutes max, because it's like a 10-minute walk. So I guess the main thing, and let's get into it, is how do I get to travel? So let me actually tell you about how I actually started having the interest about traveling. Traveling is something I've always wanted to do my entire life. I'm someone that's fascinated by people. I like to meet people, to hear from them, to learn their languages. So I actually speak 4 languages. 2 of them I'm very, very strong at, which is English and Hausa language in West Africa, Nigeria. I'm actually not ethnically Hausa myself, but that's a language I fully understand. And then Arabic and French follow quickly. So from a young age, I've always been fascinated by people. I'm a northern Nigerian guy, but I lived in Lagos, which is the western part of Nigeria, but lived in First Tech Town, which is also dominated by Eastern Nigerians. And I went to a Christian school while being Muslim myself. So I've always been very open-minded about people's beliefs and cultures and looking to learn from that. So traveling is something I've always wanted to do, and I think it was around 2013, 14 when I finished, 14-ish when I finished university. I wrote down a plan about how I wanted to do things. I said I want to be able to travel, but I wrote down a bunch of things that I like to do. I said because it got to the end of my place where what happened at 2014 is I either had to get a job because I'm an immigrant in the UK, Nigerian passport holder. So you either had to get a job to stay, and that job you couldn't move. And I realized that wasn't really for me. I was a guy that was very creative. I like to try out new opportunities. So if I got to get a job that had what we call the tier 2 visa, I couldn't really move. I was just stuck. So if I hated my manager or I didn't like the job, I couldn't look elsewhere, because if I did, my visa got cancelled and I would look elsewhere. I had to just stay at the job or go leave the country. So that type of lock in a cage mentality didn't really work for me. I don't really like it. I still don't like it. I'm a very sort of free-spirited person. So instead I put all my eggs on a very dangerous visa, which was for entrepreneurs, and I actually got it. So which is crazy. So I had offers to join a lot of companies, right? Bigger companies, because I just finished working for Microsoft at the time at Huddlebuy, which is now Packbox, which is a great company, by the way, shout out. And so I had a lot of offers to work for all these companies, but what I realized is, while I was doing my thing, I was learning how to make mobile apps with Ionic, I was learning a lot of things, and I was really happy. I wasn't making as much money, but I was just very happy because I was growing. I was, doing a lot of things that I really liked. So I was just like, well, I don't want to stop doing these things because I know I like them. I don't want to go get a job that I'm going to hate. So I was just like, you know what? Let me keep doing what I'm already doing. And this was at a time when, times were hard. I was next to homeless. I didn't really have I had to couch with my friend for 33 days. Shout out Anthony, you came through. And life wasn't really nice. And my dad tried to help me out, but I was just like, no, Dad, I appreciate it. You've already helped me out. And I told you that after I finished my university, I wouldn't really disturb you. I need to find a way to find a solution, to get out of this. So I guess the main thing that started my sort of public speaking experience was I had a friend called Yassine. I have a friend called Yassine. Yassine Rescue. He's actually a developer advocate at Google now for Android, and he's probably the biggest influence in my life in my public speaking, because I met him at Google Campus. So we were all just chatting and we were talking about something. So I had seen a video of Yassine talking about Ionic, where he started saying, I'm Tunisian, but I'm from France, but I'm Tunisian originally, right? Which is a line I stole, because I say the same thing, like I'm from London, but I'm Nigerian originally. So copyright Yassine. But anyways, so we were just chatting, and then he said that. And I was like, wait, I've seen your video. And it turns out like Yassine is like around my age. I'm even older than him by a couple of months and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, hold up. I know you. I saw you I thought you were like, so I guess what I was just surprised that someone like around my age group was out there giving talks in different countries. And so it made me realize, well, if he's doing it, why can't I do it? Like, he hasn't got two heads. He's great. I think I can be just as good as him, you know? So it was like, you know, that's how they say, well, the kind of friends you keep really say a lot about your life. So he motivated me. So from there, and he was running Yassine was the founder of the London Phone Gap meetup, and he invited me to speak. And I came and I gave my very first talk, and it was really lovely. And then that's how I started the Ionic UK community. And, you know, like, I remember then I went to the Phone Gap Day conference in Amsterdam, and Holly Shinsky, who is a great person from Phone Gap, she was just like, well, she kind of said like she really liked how like my aura and everything, because we always talk online. If I wrote a blog post, I always shared it with her for feedback, and she was just like, you know, jokingly, like, one day we might have you speak here, no promises. And I was just like, why would you want to do that? Like, I'm just a dumb kid, But guess what? I submitted a talk, and they accepted. And then next year I actually went to Amsterdam, even though I was a bit late because my visa got delayed, and I gave the talk. And I think from there on, my life was just never really the same, because opportunities started coming left and right, because I was becoming more and more known in the community. My book contract came through. I didn't really actually have to go chase. So a lot of the opportunities I started getting were coming to me because people had seen my works, or they'd spoken to somebody that maybe I had dinner with, and the person was just like, yeah, speak to Sani, he's cool. So that's kind of how I grew. So around 2014-ish, 15-ish, I wrote a short memo about the things I wanted to do. So I wanted to travel, and I wanted to also speak, do public speaking. I also wanted to learn how to code, to make mobile applications. I wanted to give back to my community. I wanted to give back to Africa, which is where I'm from, Nigeria. And I wanted to meet people. I literally still have this list on my wonder list. I wrote around 14 to 15 things. But I said I want to be able to do all of this at the same time. I don't want to have to do one or the other. Which was interesting, because there wasn't really a job that allowed you to do that one thing, right? So from there, that's how the public speaking career started, and I started applying for conferences. And trust me, I started applying to a lot of conferences, and you get rejections. I got rejected a lot, like 90%. But guess what? You just need the one to say yes, and that's how I just started. And the way let me just sit here, and the way I did the thing was like, I would apply to conferences in different locations, cities I hadn't been to, right? So what you don't know about like most IT conferences is that they pay for your flight or your hotel for maybe like a couple of days, normally 2, 3, 4 days, and they give you like some money for your flight, or they pay for your flight. So actually, if you play your cards right, it doesn't actually cost you much. So for me, it was like, if they're paying for my flights and my hotel, I just needed a little bit more money to maybe extend the trip and enjoy myself, and I actually get to meet people. So that was my way of traveling. So every time I have a trip, it's like a mix of things. So for example, I'm here in Melbourne now for a conference, right? And I arrived earlier, and I almost a week before. I arrived on the 4th, and today is the 10th, right? So that's around a week-ish, like 5 days or 6 days earlier. And of course I'm paying for the extra days I'm staying, but it ends up costing me almost next to nothing, right? Because the majority of the stuff is already covered by the conference, and that's really, really cool. So that's kind of how I got to travel. Every time I travel, I also, to meet people in the community, I host meetups. So I reach out on meetup.com to the person that's running the local, maybe Angular or Ionic or JavaScript meetup community. And I don't know these people. I just reach out like, hey, I'm coming to your city and I'd like to give a talk. If you have an event coming up, or if you don't have one, can we just plan one. And I do that a lot, and that's really worked. So that's how I actually got to sort of like meet a lot of my friends, like Kirill, for example. He's the New York Angular community holder, and I've done one in DC. I've done one in Santa Monica for Ionic, where I drove like 100 miles each way from Carpinteria. I've done one we're doing one now in Melbourne this time, so I'm actually flying to Sydney. I'm flying to Sydney tomorrow, because the Sydney community they were like, yeah, we should come through. That's the thing, you don't know until you ask. People are willing to really be nice and just share, and that's one thing I love about the Angular community specifically. It's very glowing. So that's kind of how I'm able to mix and match a lot of the things. So I get to do a lot of things. I get to travel. I get to then also take some downtime to meet some people. I get to also grow my brand. I get to learn from people. I get to also see different communities. So for example, I've been to 6 continents now and around 29 countries, and I think at least 20 of those have been to conferences and stuff. In America alone, I've been to almost 15 to 20 states. Like, you know, I've been almost like a quarter or a third of the American states, because every state I go to, I look for community people. I've spoken in, you know, in New York, in what's it called, in places like Massachusetts, Boston. So it's really cool, and you just meet people, you just get to know them, go for a drink. Really, that's really what it's all about. And I will tell you something, most of the opportunities I have were because I just met people, and not necessarily because I was the smartest person, but because I was just a human being. I came across as a human being, and I related to this other human being as just a normal person, a bunch of dogs, just said hello, and that's it. Like, I'll tell you another story when we have more time, because this video is gonna run a little bit over, but that's kind of it. So if you're looking to get into, you know, public speaking or technology or writing, do it. And that's what I did. I got to write, I got to meet people, I got to create talks, and in fact I create talks on things that I want to learn, right? So like, for example, when I went to Israel, I never knew anything about service worker, but I submitted a service worker talk and it got accepted. So now I had to learn about service worker, create a talk around service workers, and then from there I was able to go to Israel and do something really great. And I've been lucky. I've been around the world. I've been to places like Israel where in a room people were willing to sit on the floor because they wanted to watch me talk. And I was almost in tears, because I'm like, I'm just this African kid, you know, from Nigeria, and here are these people, 600-700 of them, willing to sit on the floor to hear me speak. And I was really shaking. So I've had a lot of like experiences where it's very emotional, and I'm not really an emotional guy. I'm more of a like you never see me cry type of guy, but you know, I have feelings too. So it's interesting to see that people actually want to do this. You know, when that's how most of my opportunities come through. So once you build your brand and you just say hello to people when you're out there, you don't need to like be the best or anything. Like, just do your thing, focus on yourself. And I knew that I was someone that liked to talk to people. I knew how to connect to people, and that's how I use that as a weapon in my field to grow my brand. That's what I might not be the smartest and most technical person, but guess what? I know how to smile and say hello to people and just get to know their story and share my story. So if you want to start this, the first thing is understand your circumstances, right? That's the number one thing I would say. Understand your circumstances. What is within your control? What is not within your control, right? For within my control, I knew that I was in England and, you know, I could meet people. So I started meeting people. And another thing I would say is start local. Start from just a local meetup. If you're scared to do a local meetup, start from just writing online or just recording videos of online, or even contributing to somebody else. So tell somebody, if you write a blog post, can you let me read it before you publish it so that I can help you? Just in any way that you can grow. So start local. For me, I started locally in London, and funny enough, London is the one place that I'm actually the least well known in all my places, because I do more stuff out of it. So start local. Then from there you meet people and just be human. Let people have a feel for who you are. If somebody is coming to your city, reach out to them on Twitter. Be bold and say, hey, let's go for a coffee. That's how I met Andrew Lee from Firebase, the founder of Firebase. It was just literally a coffee, and I shared my opinions, and he taught me a lot. And the next thing you know, 3 years later, I'm hosting this guy in my house to have dinner. You know, so that's how you do. And even when I go to his city, I'm always like, hey, if you're free, I'd love to just go meet you up. It's the same thing when I go to like Google I/O, for example. Every year I host a dinner at Google I/O in a place called Juba, a restaurant, and I actually pay for a lot of the time I like take out of my pocket to pay for food, but I gather people, 10, 20 people, and people that have been to Google I/O. To me, mostly the African community. That's how I merge with the African community. So I invite, like, for example, the Nigerian community, because that's when I get to meet these people. We did something similar in Anguilla and ATL, where we went to a Nigerian restaurant with like people that were Puerto Rican, white, black, Asian, just to go have fun. And we are the guys at Jedi. We split the bill, and it was like we spent like $600 on food. But that's the thing, that those things that you do, that you just go to meet people, they count more. You get more opportunities from just meeting people. Networking, your network is your net worth. So that's the video is already 15 minutes, so I gotta go have some breakfast. But that's how I recommend to people. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at Sani Yusuf. We're in beautiful Melbourne. You can see we're just by the Marvel Stadium. So the conference is being held at that stadium over there. I think you can see it. Melbourne's a wonderful city. Like, yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna be coming back here soon. But yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to ask me. Yeah, thanks.